Produced by Victoire.
Welcome back, viewers, to another episode of Stylin', the podcast. I'm one of your co-stars, the Master Emir, along with my co-star first, Pastor Andy.
Everybody, good to see you.
And my co-star from Masterclass. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the original Sin Bodhi.
Hey, buddy.
Hey. And joining us all the way from Canada, he is Matthew, the Canadian Jacobs.
Pleasure to be here.
Hey. Pleasure to have you. So, what's the difference, guys? Wrastlin and entertainment. Pastor, I know you know all about this growing up in the South when you knew about wrestling. And Sin, I know you know all about entertainment because that's your whole that's part of your huge gimmick. So, what's the difference, guys? Pastor, jump right in. What is wrestling? What is wrestling?
Well, man, a lot of it is a dialect problem. but my friend Mark Fleming, he's the former guy from the Crockett era stuff. He had a book. It's wrestling, not wrestling. But seriously, I believe there's room for both.
Okay.
Of course, in the era that I grew up in, it was probably, to the hardcore fan, taken a lot more serious, and you had the tag team era, the Andersons, and you had all the different stuff like that, and the big giant, bigger than life characters like Blackjack Mulligan and stuff. And so, but at the same time, you'd be dishonest if you don't look back on it and realize that it was always evolving toward the idea of it was always entertaining. Mm-hmm. It was the guys in the business took it a lot more serious than the fans did. I mean, because it was a show. Everybody knew that. Who believed it, who didn't, whatever. But it's like I shared with you in a private conversation, you went from your Luthez, Jack Briscoe, Harley Race era, which was fantastic, and we were all drawn in and we all loved it. But come 83 and 84, you get the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant. You love that too. I mean, it was so, and then you evolve to now and all the characters and all the stuff over the years. So wrestling, if you will, Nikita Koloff has a great story about that because he grew up, of course, in Minneapolis and had no experience with anything. And he comes to the Carolinas and they ask him if he was a wrestler, and he had no idea what they were talking about. And I know Nick's been on this show. He's one of my best friends. Love him to death. But yeah, there's and I think there's room for both, man. I mean, you can love the concept of the sport idea, but you can be entertained too. I think it's a beautiful show.
Yeah. So Sin, entertainment, obviously, we talked with the pastor there back in the early days, the wrestling, it was taken more seriously, probably less emphasis on, vignettes and skits and stuff like that. It was more hardcore, the battle, as it were, the fight. But the entertainment aspect, I mean, obviously, tremendous amount about that. I mean, anybody who's ever seen Sin Bodhi, the character, I mean, you understand what I'm talking about. Now, you've taken it to a whole other level, though, Sin, because you've brought in elements to your character. You infuse it into matches. Tell us some of these matches that you've come up with, Sin, the entertainment factor.
Well, I'm just as silly as it sounds. I'm a real guy working. So like I'm not just some a-hole that went to the mall and got my face painted. Like I am a legit circus strongman,
Right.
Circus sideshow guy. I was a legit martial artist, blah, 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 did all these things. So like everything that I've incorporated into my work rate, into my character and my toolbox, however you want to say it, I'm very much wrestling.
Yeah.
I came up with a lot of that stuff. Like that was, Jake the Snake, and that was Jerry Lawler. And, the first kind of famous wrestler I ever locked up with was Bobby Eaton, so I mean that's a wrestler right there.
Yeah.
And Tracy Smothers and the rock and rolls and then just legit like brawling with the Road Warriors or the Steiner brothers. I've been in the ring with all these guys. So like I'm very much a wrestler.
Yeah.
But at the same time, depending on the territory, like I spent a lot of time in Memphis, and Memphis is a territory that, even though it is a wrestling territory, there was a lot of Shakespeare, a lot of gimmicks and all that kind of stuff. And I'm an artsy fartsy guy, and I liked that, but I always wanted to be outrageous, but believable. Like, man, that guy's crazy and fun to watch, but I don't want to mess with him. I think he will bite my nose off. I want people to go, I'm not sure about him, and he's believable enough to go, yeah, if you want to get that done, maybe I don't want to play.
Yeah.
And knock on wood. I'm sitting here, my little puppy's going to do a run in here. He's jumping on me. Not, in over a quarter century of doing this, I've never walked a guardrail and mean mugged somebody where they bowed up to me. They always like, oh, I hate you. Blah, blah, blah. As soon as I got within touching range, they just melted like a Dairy Queen ice cream cone on a hot day.
Yeah.
Now I'm smart to not stick around too long for peer pressure of those buddies to like, bow up in front of their friends or whatever. I was always clever of, how to keep it moving. So again, knock on wood, I'm going to get clobbered this weekend for saying that. But like, I think bringing that believability, but like, I mean, if I'm wearing like those bunnies and duckies, strapped to my boots and I'm wearing that crazy paint and this and that, like, you better be confident and know your shit, or else you're just some asshole in a silly outfit.
Right.
Right. There's no heat in that.
That was Adrian Street.
100%. 100%.
He came across as like, a real fairy, but you didn't want to mess with him. He was
100%.
He was the real deal.
Well, when I think back to also Papa Shango, because when Charles Wright was pursuing Papa Shango, there was another. What's that? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I was so flattered by both, like Papa Shango himself. He was just like, man, you're real fun to watch. I believe everything you're doing, and that's from just a badass dude, let alone a crazy fun character. And I really marked out wrestling overseas. One time I was in the UK and I was wrestling a local bad guy, and I was the crazy good guy. Mm-hmm. I wrestle as a good guy as much, if not more often than I do as a bad guy. Go figure that out.
Yeah.
But I was wrestling. I didn't realize Johnny Saint was in the VIP area watching the matches. I didn't know until after I'd wrestled and I went in the locker room and a couple of guys were like, man, Johnny Saint was really enjoying and clapping through your match and stuff. And I thoroughly marked out because I'm a Johnny Saint fan, and I snuck out there in my hoodie and, how you doing, sir? Hope I amused you. And he was like, oh, this was great. He reminded me of an Adrian Street, just bigger and scarier and this and that. And he had some funny, fun, clever things to say and very useful little tidbits that I took as, learning curve, and also too flattery. That's like a mental championship belt, getting accolades from people you look up to,
Yeah.
So I believe that, if I just walked out there in some silly outfit and couldn't back it up, that's no good. But if you walk out, you're too cool for school and you're too serious and you're too whatever, that might be dry as well. Mm-hmm. So for me, finding a middle ground of like, yeah, he's crazy, yeah, he's silly. Yes, I can sell like Bob Orton and really put over my babyface, but I can also put heat on my babyface or fire up on my heel in a way that people went, holy shit, this guy is angry. And I'm super safe about it, but that's the illusion, is making it look gnarly with being as gentle as possible.
Yeah, and another one who was great at that, obviously Matthew from you and I's era, was Matt Bourne, Doink the Clown.
Well, I mean, that's where I was going. That's where I was going to go right now, Sid. Judge, like hearing your character, I was going to ask you, as a face, like, how do you come out to the crowd? And if you're a heel, how do you come out to the crowd? Because presentation's everything, right? You have like 30 seconds to present yourself when you walk to the ring.
Sure.
Which you don't see today.
The short answer is you change everything and nothing. Like, I don't turn into Marty Jannetty when I'm a babyface. I don't run around kissing hands, shaking babies. I'm very much like Jake the Snake that way. When Jake came out as a heel, he had the sack over his shoulder, brooding. He'd sit in the corner in the turnbuckle and wait for his opponent, his victim or whatever. As a babyface, he did the same thing.
Yeah.
So if I, we call it whoring. If I looked at the crowd like, cheer for me, come on, baby, all this stuff, that's whoring. That's begging for attention. But if I go out and do something interesting, whether it's scary, funny, whatever it is, serious, and they're amused by it, they will cheer for it. If they are angered by it, they will boo it. And you can engineer it either way. Like, I am not a heel nor a babyface. I am me. Mm-hmm. And I am, and to kind of go back to that first question about the Wrastlin versus Entertainment, like, I am both. Like, I think if you take peanut butter and you take jelly, you smash them together, you make a heck of a sandwich. If you cooperate the two, like, I'm very much Jeet Kune Do, like, whatever works. So to not get too artsy fartsy and philosophical, I could break this down in wrestling, in the actual physical story, not just the character presentation, but like Randy Orton, hell of a drop kick. Mm. So he could get heat by cutting off a baby face at the end of a hope spot with that beautiful drop kick, and he'll get booed for it. or he can fire up and shine with that drop kick, or use it in the front end of a hope spot, and then go for it again, and the heel grabs the ropes, and then Randy crashes and burns, and then they boo the heel or they're cheering Randy because of his brilliant drop kick. So it's how you engineer your physical storytelling just as much as it is the presentation.
Yeah.
There's babyface Mankind, there's heel Mankind. There's babyface Doink, there's heel Doink. There's babyface Jake, there's heel Jake. You don't just have to run around and cheer and clap and be a silly, happy-go-lucky babyface. Like, I think if Marty Jannetty, I don't know that he was ever a heel, but I think if he was to be a heel, he should just come out like Marty Jannetty and cheer and clap, and then people boo him, and then he gets upset, like, how dare they not want to clap for me anymore? Like, fuck these guys, pardon my French.
Yeah.
Now the situation has upset Marty, and now he's going to take it out on the other guy that makes Marty the heel.
Yeah.
Like, you're not a heel or a babyface because you've signed up to some heel club or some babyface club. You're a heel or a babyface by proxy of the situation. Like, if I'm wrestling you and they're cheering for you because you're out wrestling me and you're better looking me and you have better abs than me, and my brain processes like, well, I'm the greatest wrestler in the galaxy. These fans are stupid because how dare they cheer for this guy, or this guy's out wrestling me and I'm the best wrestler, so he must be cheating, so therefore he deserves to get poked in the eyes or kicked in the junk. So that's my heel mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And you just return that as a babyface, and you're just going to fight the good fight as a babyface.
Yeah.
Everything is situational.
You're internalizing who you are. You're bringing that to your character, and you're just believing it. And again, if it's up to the crowd, if they boo you or they cheer you, but you're not pivoting so much that it appears like an act, essentially. Like you said, Jake the Snake, when he came out as a heel or a face, he was the same guy. Same stance.
Every heel is the hero of his own journey. Do you think Hitler ever lost a wink of sleep at night thinking he was a bad guy? I guarantee you, Hitler went through his whole life thinking he was the babyface.
Yeah,
totally bonkers and evil and out to lunch. But he looked in the mirror and saw a babyface.
The world
looked at him and saw a heel.
I tell you what, I do you remember that movie Falling Down with Michael? Yes, I watched that last night. First time in years. Pastor, have you ever seen that movie? Matthew, have you ever seen Falling Down?
Negative.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, it's fantastic. Where at the end of the movie, when he's caught with the cop, he says, wait a minute, I'm the bad guy? Yeah. He believed the whole time he was the good guy. It was so apropos that you said that, but it was so well done. Like I said, in his mind, and really when you watch it back, I don't want to spoil it for anybody out there, but yeah, actually he was kind of like a vigilante. But it's so true, in their minds, they're not a heel. They're really the good guy, and they play the best villains, actually.
Well, you can set up any scenario and you just engineer it for the outcome you want, especially when it's a work and you've written a storyline about it. So if the two players on the field that can execute the story correctly, then Steve Oates the good guy, Macho Man's the bad guy. Mm-hmm. So like let's just say I'm standing at a backstage vignette. I'm standing there with my wife. And you come walking along and she's holding a soda pop, and you knock that soda pop and it spills on her. And you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am. I'm so sorry. And I sucker punch you. Yeah. I'm the villain. But if you bump into us and you knock the soda pop on my wife and you're like, watch where you're going, lady. And I shove you right to your face, I'm the good guy. Yeah. Then I'm chivalrous. So just with the slightest tweak of a physical story, we've determined who's the babyface and who's the heel. Like, it's not rocket science. They just don't really teach that to the young guys a whole lot these days, be it on the indies or anywhere else. So I'm not telling you this because I'm the cleverest guy in the galaxy. I just learned from really good guys. Like in the locker rooms these days, young, talented athletes leading other young, talented athletes that may or may not know much more than each other. Whereas when I came up, and I'm pretty sure like when, the pastor was in the locker room, we were surrounded by older guys that knew way more than us. So they led us and taught us all these psychological ins and outs.
But now, does that part of what you're saying, because it's genius and it's true. See, I was thinking like if you came out as a good guy, you'd come out like Marty Jannetty, just high-fiving, and if you're a heel, you come out and give the finger. So, I fell asleep there for a minute, not realizing that's a way to do it in the ring. So that's through your work. So that's like psychological, right?
Yep. All psychology. It's all like Jake the Snake would always, pardon my description, this is a Jake quote. He likes to mentally masturbate the audience. He likes to pull them to the edge of where he wants to take them and take them in any directions, tease them and pull them all over the place, have them hooked and enamored, angry, frustrated, gasping, loving, hating. That's to be a storyteller and, at the highest of levels.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Make them
Pastor
love you,
Andy,
make them
sorry.
hate you, make them feel sorry for you.
Pastor Andy, I got to apologize for my fellow Canadians' language here on this show. Eh?
Sorry, eh?
I do
Sorry.
not have virgin ears, brother. I promise you.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Giving us
Pastor
Canadians a bad look here, eh?
Pastor was also in the police force, so for 10 years or so, right? About 10 years.
I was on the road for 13 years and around wrestling for 40. So yeah, I've heard. There's nothing I haven't heard or said.
So, like, okay, let's zoom out to that. Let's say police officers pulling over some suspect for whatever. How does the suspect conduct himself? Good evening, officer. What seems to be the problem, sir? And he's pulled over, so he rolls to the window. He puts his hand on the steering wheel where the cop knows this guy is not posing any threat. He's turned his interior light on so the cop can take a good look in the cop car. And the cop comes over and says, have you been drinking tonight, or this or that, or do you know why I pulled you over? If they're both polite, then it's baby versus baby. If the cop comes over like pulling his pants up like he's Jackie Gleason or something and chasing the Burt Reynolds, and he's acting like a dickhead and he's being a heel, or the person getting pulled over is like, what's your problem? What are you pulling me over for? Because I'm this or I'm that or whatever. Then it's like, two heels. So whatever the situation is, it can be easily determined with a few key bits of information.
Now, do kids take this advice if you tell them at seminars, or are they too worried about getting their spots in?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes they hear it and it bounces off of them. Sometimes it whittles through the cracks. I like to joke. I mean, you guys can obviously tell I like to be silly and crack a joke or whatever. I find that for younger guys to be a way to kind of lighten them up and loosen them up. So maybe if they go, oh, he's not so bad or so mean or so strict or whatever, he's silly. It kind of helps them lighten up and maybe they're more apt to get 2 or 3 out of the 20 things I'm saying. Like, I mean, I think a coach or a producer these days will say if you tell a wrestler 20 things, if they keep 1, 2, or 3 of those things, that's a win.
Yeah.
And I think humans in general, humans are hard learners or stubborn learners. So, I mean, to be any kind of a coach for anything, I think if people picked it up on the first swing, then coaches would be out of a job pretty quick. So if I could stick a thumb drive in your ear and download everything I know, I'm out of a job pretty quick. But if I can give you short and sweet over the long run, and both of us, like the student and the teacher, and I'm always learning. I'd like to think I'm a decent teacher because I'm always learning. Yeah. And I've made every mistake in the book, so I can teach you what not to do, as well as, just the good stuff. Like, as they say, you learn from your defeats, not your victories. Mm-hmm. So, and articulating it different ways. Like my mother was a school teacher, and back in the day when and she taught a lot of like the bad kids, quote unquote, whatever that means. And so she would say, sometimes you have to teach 20 different kids one piece of information 20 different ways. Their ears perceive it, their brains perceive it different ways. So I have to find. I like to talk in metaphors and paint pictures for people because I think that's more universal. Like, hey, go up to the top, like I'll go for like I'm going to Ric Flair you off the top, but you can stop me and poke my eyes and then come off the top rope with a double axe handle and I'll punch you in the tummy. Okay, people can kind of see that as a calling that as something. And I didn't just say my clothesline. Well, whose clothesline? Or like clothesline? Whose clothesline? My clothesline? Your clothesline? What are we? And I don't need it right then and there. Like, okay, as we fire up, when I go to throw a big one, duck one, and just turn short and give me a clothesline. Yeah. Both of us can crumble. Both of us can crumble. So, like, I would talk to a wrestler more like like a director directing an actor. I'm not just calling in short dog calls. Like, I'm not sit, stay, move, duck, block, this, that, and the other. I would say, fire up, feet up, go here, sell to a knee, sell to a turnbuckle. If I punched you, if I grab you by the scruff of the neck and you see my knuckle sandwich winding up in the air, I'm not going to tell you, watch my punch. I'm going to tell you, feet to the buckle, move when I charge, stuff like that. So, this, that, or the other. Mm-hmm. Not just specific.
Amir, you taking notes?
I always take notes. That's one of the reasons it's called Masterclass. That's one of the reasons Sin is my co-star on Masterclass, because it is always a masterclass with Sin. No, I'm serious, Sin. I because I love the business of pro wrestling. I honestly, I hope and I pray people can garner more information like what you're saying, Sin, because you have such a vast knowledge of pro wrestling. I mean, you've learned from the best, and you've become one of the best now.
Well, I try to sort of instigate learning. Like I will say, hey guys and girls at whatever seminar, like I'm not telling you stuff just cause. Like I've coached and I've produced and I've performed at WWE and just about every major company in some shape or form.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you things the coaches and producers will like.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm giving you useful tidbits. Like you'll if you're doing a good job, you get over in front of the fans. And if you're amusing in some way, you'll pop the boys. And that's the last thing you should be worried about is amusing the locker room but at the jeopardy of at the behest of your match.
Yeah.
You want to do stuff where the producers and the promoters are going to go, huh, that guy or that girl, they're smart. They know what they're doing. So, and I would tell them, like, those producers, they don't care about your fancy spots. They care about who and how, not what.
That's
If I eye gouge you and sell it because your eyes are jacked, you've obviously been doing eye ups in the gym, and you're so stupidly forgiving that you forgive me for poking you in the eyes and you're just going to give me a fancy arm drag. Well, then, I didn't put any heat on you, so they're not mad at me. You didn't sell anything and prevail, so they're not getting any empathy towards you. And you're dumb. You don't realize that I didn't counter wrestle you with an eye gouge. That's assault.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we put a heat spot on a baby face, that's not counter wrestling. That's assault.
Mm-hmm.
And if the baby face is too dumb to sell it like that, then nobody's cheering for an idiot or a coward. You can do anything else. You can be fancy, funny, this, that, serious, creepy, whatever you are. But if you're dumb or you're a coward, nobody's cheering for you.
Right.
So if you're too dumb to know I kicked you in the nuts and you're too dumb to sell your nuts, then nobody's cheering for a guy with an itty bitty little pee-pee. So they're not gonna. The girls aren't gonna put it over. The guys aren't gonna want to drink with you later. The girls aren't gonna want to date you, and the kids are gonna want to grow up to be like you.
Yeah, and I think there's a strong need for people to focus on selling and selling correctly. Again, I saw a match. I'm not going to name the company, but I did see a match from a few years ago, and it was absolutely atrocious. I
saw that match. I watched that match.
Yeah, I'm sure you have seen. Yeah, but it was like it was super kick after super kick after super kick after super kick, and every super kick connected. The guy fell, and within seconds, he's back up. And he hasn't sold anything. I mean, back in the day, Shawn Michaels super kick puts you down. It was over, right? So now, no selling is it's just a common theme, and I can't get behind that. I can't get behind somebody not selling a move. You've lost the continuity. For me,
so real fast on that note that Amir is talking about. If you're booked for a show and that's happening where it's like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and no one's selling, are you being told that by the agent, or is that you two boneheads doing that?
Sometimes a bit of both, depending on the show. And for me, the Young Bucks do their super kick party, and I think MVP said this really great one time. He said, I'm not a fan of the Young Bucks' work. I am a fan of the Young Bucks as businessmen. They've made a ton of money. So again, whether it's Santino Cobra or Hornswoggle running through a painted hole in the wall, or it's Bret Hart putting a sharpshooter on, or Undertaker chokeslamming somebody, if it's safe and it sells tickets, it's good wrestling. So, you can look at it like that. You can look at it like, if this is what the fans are buying and it's selling tickets and it's safe enough. Okay, it might not be my cup of tea, but I appreciate the business evolving, and you can't just, back in my day. Well, I don't have a time machine, so if I did, yeah, maybe not my cup of tea. But if you want to, keep on moving and growing and morphing and adapting, you have to that old school peanut butter and that new school jelly, and you better make a sandwich. Find a way to make it work to your satisfaction. If Tony Khan booked me tomorrow and said, take 5,000 super kicks from the Young Bucks, I'd say, sure, no problem, Tony. I would just use my psychology and my everything in my toolbox, from my look to my selling to my work rate to my size, to find a way to make that as best as I could make it.
Yeah,
that's to be a team player, and that's to be in the modern day. And the same thing, old school. Like it's the same thing. Like, what if they told you to do some whatever, and you were like, I don't know about this. Do it the best you can. You're not writing the show; they are. Again, I revert back to my favorite wrestling match ever, Star Wars. So if Stormtrooper number 5 was told by George Lucas, hey, do the job on Han Solo's first laser. He comes out of the Millennium Falcon, zap, bing, boink, one laser. You didn't do anything. You're a big Imperial Stormtrooper, but you did the job in the first laser. And he goes, okay. And then they call action, and that Stormtrooper number 5 does a backflip and a moonsault and jumps around and drop kicks Boba Fett and kicks Obi-Wan Kenobi in the balls and then eats the laser. It might have looked great, but that's not what George Lucas wants. So even though that looked great, and the Stormtrooper number 5 went into business for himself, he's just going to get heat and he's going to get fired. They're like, that's not what we wanted. You didn't take direction, buzz off.
Right.
But if he takes that one laser beam, the way George Lucas said, but he takes it better than any other Stormtrooper. He eats that laser beam and flips over, does like, when it gets clotheslined and you flip yourself in your corkscrew or whatever. He takes this corkscrew bump right in the middle of the Death Star, right on the hard concrete Sith floor. And George Lucas says, holy moly, that Stormtrooper number 5 is awesome. Holy moly, we could do something with him. So he's in a helmet. They don't know who it is. So fast forward a couple episodes, he takes his helmet off and now he's Finn and now he gets to like get down with the new Jedi girl and he gets a main event push. He's not Stormtrooper number 5 anymore. Now he's a main event guy because he did what he needed to do. He worked his way up to the top and he did business.
Yeah. And I think that's a good way to say it. I mean, end of the day, you do what you're told. That's your boss. You don't go into business for yourself. It's a given. But you, like Sin said, you get you use from your toolbox. You make it look the best you can with what you've been given. Basically, do the best with what you've been given.
Yeah, I can, again, going back to AEW, I'll give you an exact example. I wrestled for AEW this one time, and I did a 6-man tag match. It was me and two local Californian wrestlers that are good wrestlers against 3 contract AEW heels. So the producer was Pat Buck, who comes over and says, look, you've been doing this longer than I have. Do whatever you want. I trust you. Just let me know what's up. You know what this is. We're there to get these 3 guys over, get them their heat and get them over with their heat. Okay. Yeah, sure. I got you. No problem. And then there's a time constraint. Like we have like 3 minutes to do this 6-man match. And so I'm like, okay, no problem. These are the parameters we have to work with. And so it was Garcia and the two French guys, the 2.0 guys. So, and I had actually coached those 2 dudes at the Performance Center for WWE, like, the year before or whatever it was. So they came over. So I met Garcia for the first time, but the 2.0 guys come over like, sir, whatever you want to do, that's cool. Whatever. I'm like, look, man, we're here to get you guys some heat. Let's do that. But at the same time, we don't need to be wasted either.
Yeah.
So do something short with the first guy, do something short with the second guy. Here I come in. I'll come in real short and get me out. And we'll do it in a way that nobody else on the show is going to do and powder me out of the ring the way nobody else is going to do it on the show. So I said, like, looking the way I look, like the other 2 guys, one guy was a clean cut guy. One guy had like the long hair and the beard and all that stuff. And he was like a high flying guy. And then I'm the crazy guy. So I'm like, look, I'll make you look like $1 million. The trick is to make them look like $1 million and still keep your danger factor. If you just go in there and just get walloped and that's that, then you're useless after that. You're one and done. But if I stay looking like a psycho, they can bring me back anytime they want. That match doesn't hurt me. It still got that guy his heat or got him over or whatever it needs to do. So I said, come on in. I'll grab you. I'll goozle you up in the air, like a la Thunder Lips and Rocky. I go, you're the heel. So, I don't know, clap my ears or something just to get out of it. I'll give you a couple punches, feet of the ropes, duck. And when you turn around, go for a clothesline, but I'm smart. I'll throw a boot, catch my boot because you're also smart and flip me out. Nobody else will do that on the whole show. It's a unique bump that I do. It'll look athletically. It'll make me look as athletic as possible. It'll make you look as diabolical, like you got one up on me, but really like that's like Bob Orton taking an awesome backdrop for somebody, just making the babyface look good. It's his backdrop. It ain't the babyface. It's the heel making the guy look good. So I'll look like a psycho, like just choke slam a guy. He's up and he's down. But if I stuff you in the air and keep you, if I stick a grown man in the sky and keep him there, I look like a monster.
Yeah.
So he pops me in the ears. I put him down. I'm a little disoriented. I I sock him or something. He sells to the ropes. Now I'm angry. I come charging. He moves. I almost teeter over. He comes like he's going to clothesline me out, but I put my boot up like, I don't think so, little man. He catches my foot and uses my own momentum to throw me over the thing, and I crash and burn. I look like a psychopath.
Yeah.
So they want to bring me back, no problem. They don't want to bring me back, no problem. But either way, I'm good to go. I'm not tarnished in any way. But I made that guy look like he Roddy Pipered my Hulk Hogan, like he was a faster, diabolical heel, and he handled a bigger, scarier dude. So both people are better for it.
Yeah.
And it was as simple as that. He's like, holy shit, that's really smart. And I remember laughing. I don't care if he gets upset at this. Like when I went and I looked mad and he popped my ears, he took good care of me. I looked up so angry, and I wound up with that knuckle sandwich, and I threw that punch, and he literally got scared. He bought me. Like he was just like, oh fuck. And he put his dukes up, and I literally had to kind of heat-seeking missile my punch very safely right here through his hands. I'm like, I'm not gonna hurt you, you little asshole. Like I'm working, like he bought it, and he started giggling. He's like, oh, I forgot, you're just scary, And I'm like, okay, like, mission accomplished then. Like if the worker in there buys it, then hopefully the fans buy it.
Yeah.
And there you go.
That's true pro wrestling right there. But on that note, Sin, I'm looking at the time because I know we begin getting carried away here, but you've got to catch a flight, my friend.
I do.
So, yeah, you've got to head out. Pastor, it's getting late for you over there on the East Coast too. Matthew as well, it's getting late for you. So I want to thank everybody for joining us this week on the rebranded Style in the Podcast. Keep Rico Constantino in your thoughts and prayers as he gets on the mend, and he'll be back with us soon, as soon as he's ready to. But from all of us, thank you for joining us. Thank you to Matthew. Thank you for joining us. Been an absolute pleasure. Thank you again, Pastor.
God bless you, buddy.
And thank you again, Sin. And thank you, Sin, for that wealth of knowledge that you've bestowed upon people. Hopefully the right people hear it when they watch this episode. Until next week, everybody, take care and God bless.
Fans, the time has come for you to flex your appreciation in style. The Masters of Wrestling delivers the most truthful pro wrestling content week in, week out. And now we want you to show your support wherever you go. Power and Glory, the podcast t-shirts. Order yours now. Styling, the podcast t-shirts. Order yours now. To order your t-shirt and for shipping information, use the email address in the description of this video. The Masters of Wrestling. Order your t-shirts now.